What was the scramble for Africa? How did Ethiopia manage to resist being colonized during the scramble? Welcome. This is the Sankofa Pan African series. Really glad to have you here. Please click on the subscription button if you are not already subscribed. Thank you. Between 1884 and 1885, 13 European countries, hungry for raw materials and power, in cahoots with the United States of America, met in Berlin to decide the rules and regulations of African colonization. Colonization had, of course, been going on for centuries, and it was the cause of several clashes between greedy colonizing European countries. As such, they decided to allot parcels of Africa to individual European countries. They also wanted to set rules that would guide them in colonizing and administering these looted territories. Now, this infamous event is what is known as the Scramble for Africa. And as a result of it, from 1884 to 1914, the African continent was in conflict as European countries, like vampires, progressively sucked the life out of Africa and took territory and power from existing African states and peoples. The continent continues to suffer as a result of this infamous event. Now, during this period in the 1890s, Italy tried to conquer Ethiopia, also known as Abyssinia, but failed. As such, Ethiopia remained independent, unlike her neighbors. And by 1935, it was one of the few independent states in the by then European cannibalized Africa. Italy then decided to use a border incident between Ethiopia and Somaliland, which was by then under Italian rule, as an excuse to attack Ethiopia again. Italy, under its fascist leader Benito Mussolini, rejected all attempts at arbitration and invaded Ethiopia. Surprisingly, Ethiopia managed to get the League of Nations, which had been formed in 1920, to condemn this invasion. Now, the League of Nations did not only condemn the Italian invasion, but also voted to impose economic sanctions on Italy. However, the sanctions were ineffective because although Mussolini's aggression was viewed with disfavor by the British and other European countries who had various interests in Africa, other Europeans who had no real motivation saw nothing wrong with Mussolini's attack. One good thing, if one might call it that came out of Italy's attempts to keep invading Ethiopia was that it drew attention to Italy's imperialist aspirations, and it now led to crisis and tensions between the fascist states and the Western democracies. It was also a major rallying point, especially after World War II, for African nationalist movements. Many Africans emerged from the Second World War determined to fight for their independence. The Ethiopian royal family is currently non-regnant. Members of the family who were in Ethiopia at the time of the 1974 revolution, which ousted Emperor Haile Selassie, were either imprisoned or and others exiled. Now, the Derg regime, which came into power after the monarchy was sacked, released the women of the dynasty from prison in 1989, while the men were only released in 1990. And several members of the royal family were then allowed to leave the country in the mid 90s, and the rest were allowed to leave upon the fall of the Derg regime. Many members of the imperial family have since returned to live in Ethiopia in recent years. It is believed that the monarchy fell to Marxists in spite of Emperor Haile Selassie's attempts to move towards a constitutional monarchy, because it was insensitive to the suffering caused by the famine, which lasted from 1972 to 1974. Thanks for watching the Sankofa Pan-African series. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like our videos. Also, please help share it with your friends and contacts. See you next time.